let's dive into the next one. Speaking of, some frozen mushrooms here. So I'm actually excited to play this today. This is a viewer submission, like a lot of decks that we play here on stream. And we played an archetype yesterday that had some similarities to this, but was a little more aggressive. So this build specifically is still playing Teemo here, which is an elusive Dorko that's good at slipping past your opponent's blockers. Whenever he hits the opponent's Nexus, he plants 5 poison puff caps in their deck, which are traps that attach to your opponent's card, and when they draw a card with a trap on it, they take a damage. And then he levels up when you've planted 15 plus puff caps. His leveled mode doubles the amount of puff caps in your opponent's deck every single turn, so he starts stacking them up very quickly to end the game. Fizzy Dragon, thanks for the 33 months. And then this build compared to yesterday is a lot more controlling. So Sejuani is a card that actually works very well with mushrooms incidentally. So she's a very good stat line in general, a 6-drop with Overwhelm, so similar to Trample, 5/6. And when she comes into play, she gives something Frostbite and Vulnerable. So basically she sets its power to 0 and you could force it to block, which is great. Hey, Fizzy Dragon and White Pumpkins, thanks for re-upping that Prime support. I appreciate it. Welcome back. Sejuani's leveled mode levels when you've dealt damage to the enemy Nexus in 5 different rounds, and her leveled mode is super powerful with mushrooms. So her leveled mode says each round, the first time you deal damage to the enemy Nexus, you frostbite all enemies, which means when you have leveled Sejuani in play, your opponent's units are basically set to 0 power every turn that they draw a mushroom, which is awesome. Now, one thought overall on this build, looking at it, is I've been singing the praises of Flash Freeze a ton, and this build is notably not playing that card to start. So there's 3 copies of Fury in the north here, and I think there's a chance that Fury in the north here might be better served as either more Harsh Winds or some Flash Freeze to have a little bit of those pieces of interaction. That's something I want to think about while we're playing. We also have things like Get Excited and Thermo Beam that are a little bit different interaction. Another thought is there's a lot of different combat tricks in this game that are playable. Elixir of Iron versus Troll Chant could be a consideration as well. This one's a little bit more expensive than Elixir, but it's kind of a double combat trick in a way, which is sweet. So we're going to go ahead and dive on into some games with this one and see how this little bit bigger, more interactive version of the Teemo deck fares compared to the more linear one we played yesterday. Cody asked, will there be a dealer's choice option for variety segment playthroughs? So basically, Cody, the different variety games I put up for people to vote on will be all games that I'm interested in playing more of. So basically, I'm winning regardless of what gets picked. Yes, you can lose mid-combat Fury, so the ordering of your attackers tends to matter a lot in Runeterra, which is awesome. I am Inzlid. We're planning to play Baldur's Gate 3 tonight and tomorrow night at a minimum, and if it's good, we'll probably get it into the weekly rotation. So, Misfortune, Gangplank here. Definitely an aggressive shell. I'm going to keep Clump of Wumps and Mystic Shot as early interaction. I'm going to mulligan these 2. Hey, Hank, thanks for keeping on with the tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Welcome back. BDP asked, what's the resource system like in Runeterra? So, it's similar to Hearthstone with a twist in that you can save mana across turns in Runeterra. So you'll see here, I can't use this 1 mana this turn, but instead of losing it, it gets banked down into here. And you can carry up to 3 mana over across turns in this game. The caveat with that mana that you're carrying over is that it's spell mana. So for example, even though I have 3 total resources here, I can't play this unit that costs 3, but I could play this spell that costs 3. So your carryover mana is only applicable to spells. The other thing is that similar to Magic, you're playing on every turn in this game. It's not like Hearthstone where they take a turn and then you take a turn. Unlike Magic, though, in Runeterra, you gain a resource and draw a card every single turn. So there tends to be a lot more action and permutations of decisions you make in Runeterra because you have more cards to work with, because not only are you never drawing lands in Runeterra, but you're effectively drawing twice as many cards as you would in Magic or Hearthstone. So the in-game decisions tend to have more permutations because of not only how you can carry over mana, but also just the raw number of cards that you have available. I agree, Fig. Coming from Magic, the priority system takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's my favorite in any game ever. I think I'm going to start the turn by attacking. So you can attack the turn you play cards in this game, but if you attack, your opponent has a chance to also play, or if you play a unit, your opponent has a chance to play units as well before you get your attack in. So if you have a dominating board state, is there a play draw? How do they deal with play draw issues? I think Runeterra actually has the best play draw balance of any card game I've ever played. And basically the thing that changes turn to turn is who is attacking. So you'll see here when I hit end round, my opponent gets what's called the attack token, and that's really what differentiates their turn versus my turn in this game. Is right now, even though we're both playing, it's kind of their turn because of the attack token.
Would a mushroom help?
So the eye is incredible. So if I block like this, I can mouse over the eye, and the eye tells me I'm going to take 2 damage from those triggers in the middle, and all of these units are going to trade in combat. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and Fury in the north here. So my Puffcat Peddler survives this misfortune. And now I can mouse over here, and you see it says my Puffcat Peddler is going to survive as a 6/3, assuming my opponent doesn't do anything else. They could have a burn spell or a pump spell of their own. Make it rain. That doesn't really change anything, right? Just go into it too.
Make it interesting for me.
Big Leaf Plays, thank you for the quarter of your support. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Oh, it kills this first. Right, got it. Keeps the crack shot alive. Sharp. The eye probably showed me that and I was talking. Is there a lot of that in Runeterra? A lot of the random number generation in Runeterra tends to be pretty controlled. Yeah, Logan. I plan to, for the variety segment voting that's going to start on Thursday, I plan to weight tier 3 subs as 10x and tier 2 subs as 3x. To give an extra incentive for people to sub at higher levels to influence the variety stuff. I think we're just gonna play Chump Wump here. This is elusive, so I'll probably want to kill it with Mystic Shot before it hits me. I'm gonna post a Google form each week, Elvish Rage. It'll get posted in the subscribers Discord server, and I'll email it out as well. Christy and I are gonna figure out exactly what it's gonna look like, but it'll just be a quick Google form. I plan to send it out at the end of each week, so that way it can affect the schedule for next week. Tier 3s get to vote like Wyoming electorates, exactly. We'll go ahead and shoot this. Put some mushrooms in their deck. Every time we play a spell, this guy plants 3 of the Pumpcap traps. I think I'm just passing here. I think I'd rather not trade this here this turn. I don't think Declan would tolerate 3 hours of tic-tac-toe.
Don't make promises you can't keep, little girl.
A lot of permutations of things we can do here. So this is a pretty big mamma jamma here. I kind of want to Sejuani to Frostbite this to wipe its attack away, but the vulnerable and Frostbite's only till end of turn, so if I do that, I can't Frostbite to kill it next turn. It could be right to just get excited to kill this so she doesn't get her attack trigger, but then I'm taking a big hit from the Gangplank. think it's probably just the Sejuani, but I'm not super excited about it.
Own what it takes.
Sejuani, getting Sejuani's body into play here gives us a decent attacker, which is, or a decent blocker too, which is nice. That's rough.
Never stop shooting.
My pretties. Oh, shed a tear.
Definitely not looking good for our hero. We're pretty far behind on board at this point. This is, well, that was probably the best draw on our deck.
Carved from the savage cold.
Easily the best draw.
Who's angry for action?
Jack's pretty good.
Stand and
So Jack's a 5/5 that makes them asleep with the fishes every turn that can deal 2 to us. I'm expecting my opponent to start the turn by attacking here because they're ahead on board.
Grog if you won't, run if you don't.
Really? Okay. Well, I guess that means I'm playing out Starlit Seer, huh? So I would like to start getting the when you play a spell trigger on this. I have 7 mana total here with 6+1, so we can Fury plus Get Excited.
Make 'em bleed.
Does she have First Strike? She does not. So Overwhelm is the equivalent of Trample. First Strike is Quick Attack. It appears as, like, lightning on the card. Or two swords icons. And something that's important to note about this game coming from Magic is the equivalent of First Strike in this game only works when you're attacking. It doesn't work on defense.
Hey, Mom, still like a yodel in uniform.
Thought not. Thank you for the 41 months of Prime support. It's a long time. Thanks for keeping me around. Thermo Jack. I don't think so. I think I'd rather keep going wide here. Because, like, I think Sejuani in front of Jack is pretty fine.
Let's not ruffle our feathers.
Excuse you.
So this is putting me to 7. So Jack next turn. Jack next turn is going to make another sleep with the fishes, which is scary. Probably going to end up beaming him.
All hands on deck. I promise to blast off.
fight like the animal you are.
Blessed by snow and stars.
Sejuani is pretty far from leveling here. Our deck is a far cry from, like, the Turbo Sejuani archetype that levels her aggressively. Yeah, that's terrifying. So, we're at a virtual 2 here.
Good winter.
That'll do pig. Stabilize a little bit too low there that game.
These wounds only make us stronger.
I mean, we're technically at like a -2, right? Because they had sleep with the fishes too. Yeah, that's the great part about Runeterra. You see a deck you want to play, you know, at most it's like 20, 25 bucks. Usually it's less than that if you have some kind of collection going and you're playing somewhat regularly to have free rewards. Elise Lucian. This is definitely a bit of a brew. Definitely aggressively slanted, though. Lucian's a 3-2 with quick attack that he levels when he sees 4 allies or his wife die. His leveled mode has double attack, which is real scary. Gosh, do I like keeping all of these? All these cards seem kind of okay. I'm gonna mulligan the elixir, maybe looking for another threat, but 2 pieces of removal and a cheap unit sounds fine. They play Elise here. I'm probably just gonna thermo beam her. It's a 1/1 that can't block, that when it dies, it summons a 4/3. Weird, no attacks.
Don't get in my way.
Let's go ahead and kill him proactively here. I think those cards do different things, Waffle. I'd also appreciate if you want to be critical of cards people have put in their decks, you try and explain why you think they're bad. For example, I think the big upside to something like Progress Day is this deck that we're playing is trying to go longer in the average game. And in order to go long, you need some form of card advantage. I actually really like the inclusion of Progress Day as a way to make up cards in the mid to late game with this archetype. I don't think I need to save Thermo Beam for a bigger threat here, so I think I'm actually just going to go ahead and beam the Elise here. Hopefully I don't have a second copy of her. Do I want a mushroom first? Nah, I'm holding on to the mushrooms for now. Wow, that card is good. On guard, give your allies Challenger this round. You feel like the Elise is bait there. Can you explain instead of using a buzzword? Why is the Elise bait? What are they like setting up? What are we playing around? Why does your statement make sense? I don't actually think the card Bastion's been that big of an issue, Engineer, the one that I mentioned in my video. I think inside of the Lee Sin combo deck specifically, it's kind of obnoxious, but I think that's more of an issue with Lee Sin in general than with Bastion as a card. I mean, that's just not true, Vain Insane. I didn't kill Elise because I was expecting them to level her. I killed Elise because she's a card that generates value over the course of a few turns by creating extra 1/1s. So I killed her not because I was worried about them leveling her, but because I was worried about them just generating a little bit of value, while also pressuring my life total. Someone asked me earlier why I didn't play the Mushroom Cloud. This is why. Putting 8 extra Puff Caps in their deck doesn't do much, and holding it to discard to something like Get Excited here is definitely much better. So these 2/2/1s are ephemeral, which means they're going to go away after they attack. So we're going to take a little bit of a hit here, but then these are going to go away, which is fine.
You weren't expecting callers. They grow up so fast. Finding details is my duty.
It's not bad. In client game action. It's wizardry. The old one of the 3 Puff Caps getting in there.
Pain is nothing.
Opponent is notably Demacia Shadow Isles, so I don't have to worry about something like They Who Endure showing up out of their deck, which is nice.
Light, don't fear the dark.
Oh, fresh water.
I go waste upon them mushrooms.
So I've got a couple of challengers here to drag my blockers out of the way. Senna's got quick attack, but I've got a Fury in the north here. So expecting them to hook this in the 3-2, and then we can put our 4-3 in front of here. Oh, really? Who do you want to hook? I don't really care who they hook here. Them hooking the 4-3 is actually better for us since I have the Fury in the north. Man, the on-guards have been brutal. Although I suppose that actually works out for us since I have Fury here.
Enough stalling! Fight like the animal you are!
Fight like the animal you are! That's a especially fitting voice line to say to a Chumpwump. Because he's like definitely a rat person.
Sentinel!
Certainly an animal.
Bristle, attack!
Did I miss lethal? I guess I could technically try and push lethal with the Sunwork map, but they've got a bunch of cards in their hand. Morning, Wanderer. Happy Blur's Day.
Saplings.
The Winter's Claw triumphs!
I'm interested to see if Sumpwork Maps feels like a card that is useful. That could definitely be on the list of things to put on the chopping block for more Frostbites that I wouldn't mind fitting into the archetype. Sure, I agree that Elise is a good lightning rod for removal. I was just justifying the fact that I think she's worth spending the piece of removal on. Sure, but you're like not making a good argument for like why I shouldn't spend a piece of removal on it. That's kind of funny, Kyle. I think I'm just passing here, planning to Mystic Shot something. I think I should prioritize getting mushrooms into their deck more aggressively. Maybe? I don't know, the couple of games we've played so far, I've, what's what I'm searching for? I've had, like, Get Excited in my hand that I've wanted to use those on. Do I spend Mystic Shot here? I'm just gonna pass and see what they do. Oh, I'm on the attack. Yeah, I should have attacked, probably. That's fine.
Two worlds, one balance.
Alright, now let's shoot this before they can attack and give it a barrier. And draw a card with it.
They grow up so fast. There was a little fella asking for me. There beyond.
Water changes but never breaks.
Harsh Winds. Harsh Winds looking really good here again. Card's been really impressive in all the other decks we've played recently.
You're covered!
Duty, selflessness, heavy burdens.
A gift from the river.
Getting to cantrip their single combat's pretty good. Although killing my 3-2's not particularly stellar.
for a worthy opponent.
I think this is just a Harshwind's turn, right? They're definitely going to be attacking. If they want to burn my mana, I'm okay with that.
Oh God!
You're in over your head.
Fly away while you can.
Could see a riposte here, but I think that's fine. Nah, I think it's pretty likely that they have some kind of riposte or barrier spell here that they might want to use on their 2/2 anyways. Especially with Fiora's champion spell is riposte, so there's a good chance they have riposte in hand.
What form will
So
the
I think it's fine to let them draw a card here. Also, like, I just put 6 more mushrooms in their deck, so if the card they drew triggered a mushroom, I could have done shared spoils there, which would have been real good. Yep. Something notable difference between Magic and Runeterra. A spell is not considered cast in Runeterra until is not considered cast until it actually resolves. So like in that instance we just had there where they denied my spell, I didn't get these triggers. Whereas in Magic, the act of casting a card is simply putting it onto the stack.
You're covered.
In Runeterra, it refers to that spell actually resolving.
Born for conquest.
Yeah, we actually played a variation of that yesterday, Ishinla. We played it with Insightful Investigator and Intreat with Teemo as the only champion. It was actually pretty reasonable. I tagged it as the deck of the day. For people that are new to the channel or not familiar, everything I stream goes up on my YouTube channel, and I cut it up deck by deck. So if you're someone that missed that other Teemo variation yesterday, you can pop back there and check it out. That is terrifying. So this has a barrier on it from the Key Guardian. It is Challenger to force something to block it. This is going to give something else a barrier when it attacks, and he's now leveled. Progress state feeling real awkward against the aggro deck.
The calm before the storm.
I've always been a fun guy.
Their pride will cost them.
My pretty.
This has Scout, so it gets to attack twice if it attacks alone.
Hold nothing back. Try me.
He's gonna get to hook this one here. Yeah.
Let's not ruffle our feathers.
I get to save this at least.
Vicious season.
I think I'm blocking here to finish this with Thermo Beam this turn. Any barrier out of them lets this kill this. Pretty far behind on board here, though. Either just do this to catch back up. We're up to 9 resources next turn. The problem is that, like, neither of these impact the board currently.
I refuse.
Okay, that's at least a cheap card draw now.
We see through all.
Nature blesses her followers.
We each defend our brethren.
Well,
Reporting in.
shared spoils was very good yesterday in the more aggressive Teemo deck that we played. So far, it's been feeling a little bit awkward in this more mid-range controlling variation.
Teemo still on
like a yodel in uniform.
Grow free!
Grow free!
Blessed by snow and stars.
See if they have a single combat here or something to kill Teemo. Swole Teemo, little bit late, Swole Teemo. Little bit late.
Nature blesses her followers.
Okay, so we'll get excited to kill this, which means these will trade.
An auspicious season.
I mean, to be fair, Waffle, I think they're probably pretty far ahead there, even without the will rate.
4.
2, 3, 4.
Nature blesses her followers.
This will be a good winter.
We're dead to a lot here, chat.
Season.
Maybe this progress day could drag us kicking and screaming back across the finish line, but like any barrier here lets them kill Teemo.
The Kinku goes where they are needed.
Nature blesses her followers.
It's a big one drop, chat. It's a big one drop. Yeah, level Chen is very good for sure.
Too easy. These woods protect their own.
Keeper, our lands need us.
Alright, let's retool some of this deck. So, not only did Fury in the North get nerfed when Call of the Mountain dropped, but I think in general, just like this card's value, especially as like a mid-range tool, has gone way down. And I think in general, this card tends to just be worse than Harsh Winds and Flash Freeze in the format right now. Between Lee Sins and Barriers, I think even when you're not an Ash deck, Harsh Winds and Flash Freeze are just like pretty much a must play for Freljord decks. I feel like Elixir of Iron, I would like some Troll Chance here rather than these. I'm gonna Coward Split these for a little bit on the difference and see how that feels. I think, is it crazy to cut Shared Spoils? I kind of feel like I want to get rid of that one. Is that getting rid of too many? How many spells do we have at the moment? We have 19 spells. I feel like I'm going to go up a Clump of Wump. I like that this blocks the early aggressive decks nicely, and it's also still a spell. Yeah, I haven't been a fan. This card was very reasonable in the more aggressive build we played yesterday. But this build is not quite applying pressure, and it's ending up dead in our hand quite frequently, it feels like. Yeah, I put a couple of Flash Freezes, and I could round out the last Flash Freeze here. I could also, a card that I'm a really big fan of. In fact, I might trim a Progress Day here. I'm going to put a couple of Babbling Bergs in here, because Babbling Berg always draws us Sejuani in this deck, right? Which is sweet. Our spell count looks a little bit low for, what's it called? For Starlit Seer, but remember, 6 of our units in Clump Wump and Clump of Chump Wump also give us spells, so let's try this. Couple of changes, get some Frostbites in here, get some Babbling Bergs in here. You thought about changing Sunpork Babs. I want to give that one a little bit more of a chance here, but yeah, I agree that Sunpork's felt a little medium so far, and I could see that one being one that I want to change to something else. I think Progress Day is a sweet piece of card advantage that you don't mind peeling one of in the late game, but drawing multiple of them, especially early, feels real bad. Babbling Berg's a piece of card advantage that plays to the board, which is nice. Yeah, seems fine. 2, 3, 4. Curving right on out the door. Morning, Niv. Right on time, Teemo. Welcome to the party. I want to play Progress Day on November 3rd, hopefully for all 4 years. Let's do more than 4 years.
I must get out of here.
I'm not going to block here, because if I killed this, these both turn into 3/3s, which doesn't sound great for me. They are Demacia. Huh. I wonder if I'm supposed to take it slow with Teemo here and wait to play him out until I level him, not only because of single combat, but also because they could have things like Vile Feast or Unspeakable Horror. Is it crazy to take it a little slow here with Puffed Cap? I feel like it's not. Oh yeah, this person played Endguard against us earlier, right? I'm gonna lead on Puff Cap Peddler.
Words move hearts and armies.
Wow, that's scary. Grants all other allies +1/+1 if an ally died this round. And grants is a permanent buff. Yeah, we do not have a way to kill that currently. That's super powerful. Yeah, it's gonna get out of hand real quick if so. We don't have any way to take that off the table currently.
Strength of our convictions.
Yikes.
There beyond. No.
No blocks, opponent. That card is thoroughly unblockable.
Nothing like the great outdoors. I'll scout ahead. Enough for everyone.
Hey, Shin. Congrats. I'm glad you're feeling better. Thanks for the 7 months. I appreciate the support. Welcome back.
Back to darkness.
Oh, now they have bigger things that I don't want to kill. I guess we're just playing babbling out here.
Mountains.
Well,
There they go.
it isn't going to be a board stall for long. We are about to get thoroughly beat down, chat.
As Demacia wills it, words sharp as swords.
An auspicious season.
Alright, so Teemo's still alive.
Just sleeping, right?
If we could get Sejuani leveled and get Teemo going, we might be okay here. But it's gonna be a tough one. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Morning, sword.
In the name of the fallen!
More for my collection.
Yikes. Well, the hopes of putting a bunch of puff caps into their deck are now no longer with us. These things are gonna get too bigger. Lord have mercy.
Be strong! These are dark times.
Maybe they'll draw 19 puff caps next turn. I mean, they technically could have, right? Yep. Yep, yep, yep. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, is the new spoiler supposed to drop at 11 a.m. Central in 3 minutes? 2 minutes? We'll play one more game and then we'll take a peek at it together on stream. 9 a.m. PST, sweet. Dawn Spiders, the name of the last opponent. Archetype, Misfortune Gangplank, definitely aggressive. I think this hand's actually fine. We'll beam something on 1 or 2. We'll have Investigator into Peddler into 4. Sounds fine. Oh, that pet is adorable. This is the new one, right? It's very cute. You're cute too. I promise I still love you.
Now Teemo knows my name. The dead don't need riches.
No turn 2 play out of them is real good for us.
You poor thing.
Looking for trouble? It found you.
Oh, if mushrooms could talk.
Like a fish in water.
We'll get excited to kill Misfortune here. And then we'll Thermo Beam to kill Zap. They have a deal 3 here in response. Yep. The fact that they're killing our unit with that also feels kind of okay. We'll pull that one up on stream together here after this game is done. Give some thoughts on it. Let's Puffcat Peddler here. This is guaranteed to draw Sejuani, but I probably don't want a Sejuani on their next turn. Although I suppose if they play Gangplank, that might not be true.
blood!
The attack with this, I plan to block it with my 3-3. I'm gonna Mystic Shot this one. Opponent's archetype doesn't usually play things like Salvage, so they're pretty unlikely to draw a card here. They can have something like Make It Rain to finish this off, but that's whatever. Definitely don't want to take a bunch of hits here. Want to keep my life total high. Opponent's deck is pretty aggressive and has a lot of reach in it. Yeah, BG3 goes up for purchase. I'm interested to see how long it takes my fiber internet to download 150 gigs, Cody. I am also will not be playing it till this evening. We'll be starting with it on stream tonight at 7 o'clock. Sure, so you're hitting me for 4, but that's fine.
Tombstones!
Fuse is lit! When crime calls, a reply is proper.
I feel like this card might be suspect in this list too. Like, this card was very reasonable in our build with Insightful Investigator, and that was more aggressive yesterday. But in this build where we're not stacking as many mushrooms into their deck aggressively, this card just feels pretty bad against most aggro decks.
Reporting in.
Neither the flames nor the depths can claim me.
Super rewarded for waiting on the Sejuani here.
Stand and fight!
I'll let them keep their keg. See if they want to trade here.
Sure about that?
Hit my 3-2. Pretty good, and Teemo. Probably the best hits possible for them there. We're still in an okay spot because Sejuani is great, but Sump work maps looking really mediocre again here. So far, Babblingberg has felt like a good addition. Drawing into Sejuani's been really good. I wonder if we just want some Innkeepers in our deck to help these aggressive matchups. It's probably the case. That could be what we want to replace that that Insightful Investigator with. A couple of those. Maybe like 2 Innkeepers and a 3rd Babblingberg.
No one's the wiser.
Ooh, Sentries. Sentry's a good idea. I like Sentry. Sentry's just like a good mid-range card.
Nothing like the great outdoors.
So there, another 2-drop that fills the curve too.
Push on without me.
Born for conquest.
I mean, our deck isn't in the aggro matchup especially, dude, like, we're not good at leveling Sejuani because we're not, we're playing defense for most of it, right? So, like, our deck is definitely a far cry from, like, I think people are used to, like, the Turbo Sejuani Gangplank decks at this point that, like, have Sejuani leveled by, like, turn 6 when it comes down a lot of the time. Our deck's definitely a far cry from that. Our Flash Freezes notably feeling awkward here at the moment. I think 4 is definitely the upper limit on how many of these effects we want. It could be incorrect to have this many too. Like, maybe this is better as 3. Yeah, I agree, Blue Man. We're definitely playing Sejuani as a, okay, this is just a good 6-drop. I definitely agree, dude, like that. Our experience playing with this deck today has not felt reflective of my times playing against it on the ladder. To be fair, too, in our deck's defense, though, we've been playing for almost an hour already, and I don't think we've opened Teemo on 1 at all in any of the games that we've played so far, which feels like a big deal. Be luckier is definitely good advice. We're pretty dead here. Let's look at the spoiler.
These wounds only make us stronger.
Take a peek at some new cards, huh?
One, if you'd oblige. There's all.
Round start, create an acquired taste in hand. I've captured 3 units. When I level up, obliterate my captured units and release my allies. Okay, so I assume acquired taste has something to do with capturing.
Always room for supper.
Taham Kench swallows an enemy unit. It strikes him, then he captures it.
Peruse this establishment's fare. Tender, ain't ya? The river always provides. Bargain accept.
Bayou Brunch, an ally captures another ally and gains the capture's allied stats.
Did it. Excuse my impertinence. Come along! There's room for everyone.
Create an acquired taste, attack, obliterate my captured enemies, and release my allies. Neat.
Out you get, child. Let us reconnoiter. I'll scrutinize something scrumptious. Now we gormandize.
That's sweet. All right, so let's just parse again here. So, round start creates an acquired taste. The acquired taste lets him swallow an enemy unit. It strikes him, then he captures it. Here's the thing with all the cards. All right. Okay, so Bayou Brunch captures another ally. So this is his champion spell. Shake down, deal 2 to an ally, and grant 2 enemies vulnerable. Wise Fry Deal 1 damage to all their allies. They grant me 1 attack for each of them. Cute. Oh. Oh, yeah. Shakedown being burst is a good catch. Yeah, that card's probably playable. Deal 2 to an ally to grant 2 enemies vulnerable. That's a really powerful piece of board control to sneak through lethal. Pulling their 2 best blockers out of the way. Seems really good. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. He's definitely an interesting design. Volper, thank you for the 22 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Another card that could be good with Swain or Vlad. Sure. Yeah, it's taking non-combat damage. Yeah, I think what Pelly said there is accurate. The Kench feels like it is another card that's it's a card that's pushing Bilgewater in a direction that it doesn't currently sit in, which seems really sweet. Kench is another card, like a lot of the Bilgewater cards that they looked at yesterday, seemed like they would be good, notably with the Targon cards that heal things. So if you can heal him up, he's a little bit easier to have things work with, because if you can heal him, he can eat more large units. As we saw in the gameplay video there that they showed on the thing, he's also good with other cards that just let you capture things. So like Detain with Kench. Detain with Kench. Yeah, it could be good with Frostbite. So getting to eat things that have 0 power seems really, really good. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I really like, again, this feels like I like the design of this card. I don't know if it's going to be powerful or not, but I like the design of this card because it's not just a busted card that goes into everything, right? Like, this is a card that very clearly can be useful, but it's useful specifically within the context of other synergies, right? Frostbite, healing, other things that detain. Yeah, and this is good game design. It's designs that this isn't a card that slots into a theme deck, right? Like, there isn't an obvious, like, okay, this goes with all the other Nightfall cards, or this goes with all the other Daybreak cards, this goes with the energy mechanic, or whatever, like, being pigeonholed into something. Yeah, it's a champion that you build around, and there's a couple different ways to build around it, and it's not abundantly clear at a glance to start which of those ways is strictly optimal. Yeah, it's also encouraging regions to branch out into other ways that don't necessarily pair well together now. Someone asked, does Runeterra rotate? We don't know. So one of the devs had done an interview, and they said they currently haven't decided how they're going to handle, or even if they're going to have a rotation at some point. One of the things that's really interesting about Runeterra is that because they're largely trying to monetize their game via cosmetics, they don't really have a huge incentive to have a rotating format, because Magic and other games like Hearthstone largely have a rotating format because they want to keep fleecing you to buy lots of cards every set release, right? They need to generate repeat customers. Whereas, like, Runeterra, while they're definitely making some money off of selling cards, it doesn't seem like that's their primary monetization route. Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Runeterra tries to make a non-rotating format their primary format. I think that would be a really sweet direction for them to push it. If that was their focus instead of it being an afterthought. As long as it's manageable, sure. I think Riot, I expect Riot to manage their game well. Based on what they've done so far, I expect it to be managed well. I needed an Astra chat, okay? Don't judge me. I think Bastion and lead changes were their first mistakes. I am not convinced that the Bastion change is necessarily a mistake. I actually really like the new design of Bastion, and I think, if anything, it might need to be one more mana, but I think the way in which they changed Bastion, I think the card text on Bastion right now is actually really sweet.
These woods protect their own. Who goes there?
These old eyes still see far and clear.
I am one with the land.
I can see as the card pool gets larger, having a rotating starter format for new players to get learning game mechanics without them needing to learn the entire card pool. Sure. Yeah. I think like, my base thought is basically that I feel like, I think I'm going to start by attacking here, because if I play this out, they can play out something bigger that I don't want to attack my Sentry into, and I don't really want to attack with Puffcat Peddler. I want to use this to get his trigger. Yeah, I feel like their whole incentive lineup is just different in this game compared to Hearthstone and Magic because of how their rotation works, or because of how their monetization
Fate
works.
of mortals and spirits falls to me. So I go.
Try me.
Nature blesses her followers.
Alert the village!
So, I definitely want a double shot here, but I can do them one at a time to play around Ranger's Resolve. So you saw I almost put both on the stack, but if I put both on the stack, we get savaged by Resolve, so let's not do that.
Prepared for anything. Swiftly. This doesn't mean everything.
I got ways to find me mushrooms.
So now we're up to 6 mana plus 1, so a total of 7 next turn. I think I'm gonna go ahead and just put mushrooms in their deck, getting a point on them. If they draw a mushroom next turn, it's good for my Sejuani. A lot of the net decks of this archetype don't play Ranger Resolve. That's good to know.
It must be done.
Intruders. Nature blesses her followers.
That's brutal. Yeah, definitely, Beansy. Can you submit it through the forum for me? Just to help me keep track of it. The forum is how I log who's used what tier 3 subs, etc.
Water changes but never breaks.
Well, poop.
me mask, secure me tail, start the day.
The Discord's great. You should totally pop into the Discord if you haven't. Thanks for the 25 months, Azumiel. I really appreciate the prime. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Yeah, I agree, Pelly. This deck has not felt particularly good in this Shen Fiora matchup. They get on the board quickly, like you said, and then we fall pretty far behind.
They're out there. I'll spot them.
We swim within the flows of magic.
Pay dirt!
They grow up so fast.
Alright. Well, Sejuani's at 4 out of 5. So if we find one of our 6 copies of Sejuani, we could maybe end up okay here. Maybe.
Engulf them.
Nature blesses her followers.
Excuse you.
We just say okay here.
We walk between realms.
Nature,
They are under my protection.
nature blesses her followers.
There might be something to these Frostbite cards, chat.
Nature blesses her followers.
Oh, that's a +8 damage riposte. Yep. OMG King Koopa, thank you for the 11 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Leveled Shen is very, very good for sure. Yeah, I agree, Blue Man. I feel like the more mid-range controlling variation that what this is doing, and just the tools these regions have access to don't bode well for being a more controlling role in this format so far. The more aggressively slanted variation that we played yesterday, I think, was probably better on average.
Nothing like the great outdoors.
There's plenty of killing left.
Oh, I don't think that's the problem, Pelly. Like, again, to compare to the archetype we played yesterday that was very similar to this, I think, again, just trying to be more controlling with this region combination is the issue.
Don't know much, do you?
The dead don't need riches. Look out for reavers. Light the signal fires.
Have a mushroom.
Have 3.
Heard about you. Swiftly.
Make it rain. Really? No, make it rain? Nailed it.
Like a fish in water.
So let's Starlit Seer here, and then we can Mystic Shot to kill this before it hits us. I think the people talking about synergy and stuff, I don't even think that's a good reflection of like what the issue is here. I think again, the fundamental problem is that like our deck's trying to be controlling, but the tools we have with which to be controlling aren't stellar. I have no idea why they didn't attack there. I'll take it, though.
I got ways to find me mushrooms.
I'm always up for a round or two.
Oh, that's a harvest right there.
Make Teemo a 1-2. Nah, I think he's fine as is. Hey, thanks for the 7 months, Blood Moon. I really appreciate that. Welcome back.
Armed and ready.
Easy.
More mushrooms.
Ye started without me. Neither the flames nor the depths can claim me, Captain. Cowards!
Thermo beam looking quite good here.
This would be a good winter.
I'll shoot the wings off
There's
the
no way to
red
give him
one.
double strike. I mean, you can. I think I have to trade this off, right?
Not a meddler.
Let's not ruffle
I think I'm just throwing both of these away here. Want to keep my life total high. Want to try and give myself enough time. Trying to give him scout. What are things that give him scout? Are there things that grant scout in this game?
Think I'm still like a yodel in uniform?
Yeah, you don't want to cross me.
Pay dirt!
You'll never know what hit him.
Alright, this is Teemo's shot, chat. Wow, they're just conceding to going to 110 buff gaps? Alright, we'll take it.
Underestimate the power of the Scouts Code.
We'll take it. I kind of feel like that game is a good example of why the Entreat Teemo build we played yesterday is probably better. Like, that game there was probably, it felt like the best game we've played with this deck today, and it was because we had early aggressive Teemo, and being able to have a more aggressive Teemo start more often with Entreat feels like it's probably the better direction to go in. Should we have held up one for Elixir? Yeah, probably. Trundle, Orient Sol, so this is a ramp control deck. I'm going to full mulligan, looking for a more aggressive start here. Alright, that's like, okay. Thermo Beam's not super exciting, but Teemo on 1's all you can ask for in life. Teemo talks about the power of the Scouts code is the Scout 0 of 10 flavor. Poor Teemo.
Armed and ready. More mushrooms.
So, I think I'm just gonna pass here rather than playing my 2-3 out, because if my opponent invoked into a challenger unit, I want to be able to thermo beam their challenger to save Teemo.
Feelings.
We see through all.
You'll never know what hit him. Hold still.
Hey, Cedrus the Entertainer King. Thank you for the sub gifties. I really appreciate that. Good morning. Hope you're staying safe out there wherever you're at in the world. Thanks for keeping me around.
trolls coming through.
I think we're just playing Chump Wump here, right?
Tell me
So we can stack some mushrooms into their deck.
Not today.
Bow to your king.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely feels like a much different deck when we have Teemo early. Yeah, glad to hear it, Vix. That one definitely felt good when we added it. Arisabu, thank you for the 20 months of support. Welcome back. It's a long time.
Snow and stars. Ah, an auspicious season.
Girl Scout ahead.
15-2 since the inclusion. Nice.
More mushrooms.
Okay, they are 36 pup caps and 31 cards.
The trolls are going to war.
Ready when you are. Always ready.
She's a large gal, chat. You could argue that she makes the rockin' world go round, I think.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty sparkle fly.
Dragon's clutches. Interesting.
The winter's claw endures. Pain is nothing.
She's into whips too, chat. Sejuani's got her kinks here. That's fair. Yeah, the Trundle's probably not attacking, so if we frostbite the 3/3, it probably saves some life. If you were gifted a sub this morning, Cyanide, it can take up to 2 hours sometimes. I can kick it for you though. Let me kick it for you. Server settings, integrations, Twitch. Sync it up. Alright, the Twitch server is sunk. If you are a newly minted sub, you should be able to pop on in. A lot of attack you got there. It'd be a darn shame if something were to happen to it.
Ride onward.
Should be on the landmark cards. They seem like a really neat design space. If they can keep... There's definitely a little bit of danger in my mind with adding more card types and keeping answers flexible. But if they keep the answer cards in Runeterra appropriately flexible, I think those landmarks could be very good for the game. It all depends on how they get used. Yes, I like the design decision that they take up a board slot because it comes with more of a cost. I like that aspect of them a lot, that they take up a board slot. Yes, yeah, that's a concern what Wylar said there. What would be bad is if they were like enchantments in Magic, where only very narrow subsets of decks can interact with them. That would not be ideal. Ideally, every region will have at least one playable card that can interact with the landmark.
This will be a good winter.
Howdy, Twin. Thank you for the 33 months of support. That's a long time. Thanks for keeping me around.
Blessed by snow and stars.
Well, they saved their Trundle, but that's fine. Hey, draw a mushroom for me. Alright. Goodbye, power. Alright, so I like to end on a high note, so we've been going for almost an hour and a half with that one. I think that's probably a good spot to end. What happened there? So that was kind of the thing that this deck is looking to accomplish. For those that missed it, Sejuani's leveled mode says whenever your opponent takes damage for the first time each round, you frostbite all of their units that are in play. And the mushrooms that Teemo plants synergize with that technically, right? Like, you deal damage to them with the mushroom and then it triggers Sejuani. That being said, I think I liked this deck a lot less than the build that we played yesterday. Do I have it in my editor still? Yeah, the Teemo's entry build that we played yesterday, I think this build was better overall. This build was more aggressively slanted, and notably, the best draws with the deck that we played today were the ones where we could set up Teemo early aggressively. And because this build was playing Entreat to basically have 6 virtual copies of Teemo, I felt like what this was doing overall was just better positioned, all things considered. Like, this deck was able to generate its best draws more consistently, which is what I'm looking to do when I'm playing a deck on average. While it's kind of novel to get the mushrooms going alongside Sejuani, you're not able to do that consistently when you only have Teemo to get that going most of the time. Like, Puffcat Peddler just doesn't do it as well. At any rate, that's going to be it for me for today, folks. Thanks for dropping in today. Remember, I'm doing Runeterra stuff every single morning here for every single morning, Monday through Friday for the month of October. So I'll be back again tomorrow morning with a couple more Runeterra decks. Remember, most of the decks that we play here are viewer submissions, so if you have a sweet Runeterra deck you'd like to see played on stream at some point in the future, be sure to check out the submission guidelines there on my website. I'm doing variety segments every evening except for Monday in October as well. Baldur's Gate 3 is going into early access in 20 minutes, I believe, and I'm planning to do Baldur's Gate 3 tonight and tomorrow night. Yeah, it's going into early access for Act 1, which is still supposed to be plenty of content, so I'm excited to poke in at that. Yes, don't tell my boss I'm going to clock out 6 minutes early. So I'll be back in about 7.5 hours from now with some Baldur's Gate 3 this evening. Remember, if you want to check out more stuff from me, like the other Teemo deck that I just talked about, you can check that out on my YouTube channel and my website. I'll see some of y'all tonight, hopefully. Peace, folks.